All right. Welcome into day 9 of our Thanksgiving journal. It is good to have you back in today. And we are going to be in Psalm chapter 95 and verses 2 and 3. But actually, we're going to kind of take a quick look at the whole chapter just because I think when you put the whole psalm in, like you take it all in its entire context, it brings a deeper, more fuller. Gah, who's so silly today? A fuller understanding of really what we're talking about here when we read these verses. And so, verses 2 and 3, we'll just start right off. Let us enter his presence with thanksgiving. Let us shout triumphantly to him in song. For the Lord is a great God, a great King above all gods. The depths of the earth are in his hand, and the mountain peaks are his. So that's 2, 3, and 4. So basically, we're focusing on let us enter his presence with thanksgiving. So thanksgiving is key to entering God's presence. And I think that has more to do with preparing our own hearts and getting our own selves kind of like in the right place. And then let us shout triumphantly to him in song. Why? For the Lord is a great God, a great King above all gods. He's great. He is a great God above all other gods. And that's why he deserves our thanksgiving and our praise, our shouts of triumph. And so then I was looking at, then it goes on in verse 6 and 7. It says, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture and the sheep under his care. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as at Meribah and as on the day at Massah in the wilderness, where your fathers tested me and they tried me, though they had seen what I did. Though they had seen what I did. Do not harden your hearts as at Meribah and as on the day at Massah in the wilderness. And we could go back and we could look at those examples, but for the sake of time, we won't go back and like totally rehash those stories, but suffice it to say, the Israelites are famous for being a people that are grumblers and complainers. It's pretty easy sometimes to get put on my righteous hat, the Rick's never done that hat or whatever, and really cast some judgment, turn my nose up at those silly Israelites and their terrible ability to stay faithful to God. But if I'm really, really honest, man, I look a lot like them, when I look in the mirror, if I'm really honest, I've performed very similarly to the Israelites. And so we definitely want to be very careful how I look at the Israelites. Really, I need to look at their story and look at my life and think, Lord, what are you trying to say to me today? And I was really just honing in on those couple of words. I think it's 7 words. Though they had seen what I did, the Lord said there. They tested me and tried me, though they had seen what I did. And that, I think, is where thanksgiving, coming into God's presence with thanksgiving, really begins to change the game. Because if we train our hearts to see the things that God is doing, and then to take it one step further and be thankful for what he's doing, to trust what he's doing, that's where our hearts are preserved. That's where we are moved in the right direction, and we don't become like those that tested him and hardened their hearts. Because though they had seen what he did, they didn't allow it to affect their hearts. They didn't respond with thanksgiving. They didn't respond with appreciation or honor or more trust in God. And as we've talked about already, this month and maybe a little bit last month in the Proverbs series is that faith in God is really acting like what we know God has said, acting as if it's true. Even if maybe emotionally we're struggling a little bit to like really, really believe that it's true. And so that is the most impacting thing that I was pulling out of these verses today, that I'm kind of meditating on. Like they tested him and they hardened their hearts, even though they had seen what he did. And so I want to respond, and I want to do a couple of things. I want to enter his presence with thanksgiving. I want to let loose a little bit and shout triumphantly before my God. I don't want to be like all so reserved and so concerned about what other people are thinking about me, but to just allow myself to get a little bit excited about what God's doing, has done, and will do in my life. And then come and let us worship and bow down and kneel before the Lord our God, our Maker. For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, the sheep under his care. Just simply remembering who you are, where you come from, and responding appropriately in posture and in proximity, that we would continue to come close. Come, let us worship and bow down. Come and let us worship and bow down. Come before the Lord. Don't stay where you are, but draw near. We were actually talking about worship in the sermon on Sunday, and one of the words for worship actually has the idea in it of drawing near, of getting close. And so it's an important part of worship. Our proximity is an important part of worship. Our posture is an important part of worship and thanksgiving. And so let us enter his presence with thanksgiving today. Let's thanksgiving kind of like the key in the sense that unlocks the door into God's presence, because we begin to acknowledge his goodness and his faithfulness, and it stirs our faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. It's just so, it's all connected here, folks. This journey of meditating on thanksgiving and gratefulness is really, really has the potential to be really life transformative for each one of us. And so really want us to dig in and give some thought and pray about it and ask God to help us develop a heart that is like on the lookout for what we can be thankful for. So that is what I had for you today. Let's enter his presence with thanksgiving. Have an amazing day. I'll see you tomorrow.